So I thought I'd show you on here. I left the little bit of the orange in. That's where the northern kingdom ended, and the southern kingdom continues. So that's the look of, that's what that is for. You see that? That's trying to show you that right there, this northern kingdom was taken out, where that the top part quits. That should be 722, and that's when the Assyrians came in. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit and tell you what was going on in the south while the Assyrians were attacking the north. Okay, so we're going backwards a little bit. And just because I wanted to fill it in, there's this guy named, who was a king, was one of the good kings, and his name was Uzziah. He had another name, Azariah, but that's something you should know too. Very often, many of these kings have two names. And sometimes the names are similar, like Jotham and Jehoram, they're just really close. Sometimes they're not close at all. Like one guy's name is Jehoiachin, and his other name is Coniah. So like we would not put those two together. If someone was from an entirely different culture and they saw someone named Robert, and they saw someone named Bob, they would not know that that's the same person, whereas we go, oh, all the Roberts are called Bob, or a lot of them are, whatever. So that's kind of going on until you get a clue as to who is who and who is what here, what is going on. So,
Debbie, I have a question.
Yes. Good. Yes, I
She said I could.
Yes.
Why? Why do they have two names?
Right. Why do they have two names? Well, in some cases, it's just a shortcut, like Jehoram and Doran. It's like a nickname for a farm. In some cases, it's because the new suzerain has come in, set up a king, and wants him to have the name of his kingdom. So like Daniel's name is changed. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they get taken to Babylon, the king gives them all new names. All right, so that they are no longer associated with the nation they're from. They're associated with my new suzerain and vassal kingdom. So that happens a lot. Sometimes I don't know the answer. So like, okay, there's no change of authority here, and the name is changed, and I don't get it. So I don't know. So anything else? Like sitting right there on the edge. Yes? No? Okay, so if we go back in time a little bit, there's this guy named Uzziah who has another name. I think it's Azariah, but I wouldn't guarantee that. And he is a southern kingdom before the fall. So he's back over here somewhere, okay? He's a southern kingdom king before the fall of the north. And he's a really good king. He does a lot of really good things, and he reigns for quite a while. And then at the end of his life, and I'm only pointing this out because last week we talked about how often the good kings have a fall time at the end of their life. Well, this guy, you guys probably know. Anybody knows what happened to Uzziah? It's like, you remember that whole thing with how everybody wanted to burn incense? And all the people who died because they tried to burn incense when they weren't supposed to burn incense? Well, King Uzziah, the good King Uzziah, decides he needs to go into the temple with his censer, his gold censer, his pan and the incense, and walk right in and burn incense. And the priest goes, no, you can't go in there. And I think there's like 120 of them. No, stop. And the king lays down the law. I'm doing this. So before he comes out, he's covered with leprosy. Horribly covered with leprosy. And there's if you count, his son has to take over ruling while there's like a dual rulership here because King Uzziah can't leave the house. He gets in a whole new place to live. And he can't leave clean. And his son is clean, so his son can continue. But if you count how many years this guy reigned and how many years this guy reigned, you're going to go, oh, there's too many years if you don't know there's an overlap. So that happens. And so his name was Jotham, his son, and he was a good king, and he must not done hardly anything bad, because he only gets this much, and then we go to the next one. And
There's no great story.
there's no great story, but there's no bad fall at the end either. So I'll take that one. And then the next king is Ahaz, and we have to talk about Ahaz for a little bit. Ahaz is king of the south when Assyria attacks the north. So Assyria is going to come in. They are the dominant power in the Middle East at this time, and Ahaz is king during this time in the south. Now in the north, it's Hosea, remember? Hosea and Hosea? In the north is Hosea, he's getting taken out. The northern kingdom's capital city is Samaria, and it has been under siege for 3 years, so they are starving inside and things are not good. And Ahaz, now see, let me show you on the map here. I brought this one, it's not I put the other one in yours. This is where we're taking, this is where it's going. And Assyria is up here. Nineveh is right here. Nineveh is the capital of Assyria. So when Jonah goes to Nineveh, he goes to the capital of this kingdom. Assyria is coming in, and they are the dominant power. And Egypt is getting scared. So they are trying to send up battles this way and battles this way, and these guys are caught in the middle. But in the meantime, Assyria wants to take out Israel so that it can get down to Egypt. And its next goal is Judah, which is the southern kingdom. So yes, Assyria's plan is to come in and attack Judah. And so this is what so at this time, when Assyria is wiping out Israel, and the few years right before that, but another kingdom, Aram, which is right around here, Syria, with Damascus, Aram comes in and starts attacking Judah too. So there's all this stuff, and the Philistines come in, and their attacks on the southern kingdom are all over the place, and the Moabites come in, the Ammonites come in, all the little kingdoms around there. And so Ahaz decides that he's going to make a vassal suzerain treaty with Assyria to protect him from Syria. Okay? So when he does that, he goes up to Damascus to meet with this guy, and he sees that, well, Aram's winning everything, and the temple for Aram, which is Syria, is in Damascus. So this has got to be the strongest God, because he's beating everybody. This is Ahaz's spot. Now, who was Ahaz's father?
Isn't Syria the enemy though?
Yes.
He goes into enemy land to meet with
He meets these
Assyria
guys
to
coming.
try, he hasn't come down to where.
Yeah, because these guys are at the process of wiping these guys out. So he wants to make a treaty with these guys so that they won't wipe him
Even
out.
though it's a warring area, he
Yes.
just goes to.
Yes, he goes up there. And what he sees is this beautiful altar with, and they did their altars up great, to Baal. And he decides, that's what I need. So he gets a copy, blueprint of the altar, sends it all the way back to Judah, to his own high priest, the high priest. And he tells him, make a copy of this of this altar. And he says, take the altar of God, the bronze altar, out of the way and put this one in. So we are in front of the temple. And when by the time Ahaz gets back, and during this time he makes a treaty with Shalmaneser or whoever it is at the top, and I'm going to get my Assyrian king's names mixed up, I'm just going to tell you. And he comes back, and so there's this, and then he has the bronze altars moved over to the side, and the altar to Baal is now in that place. Yeah. and the priests are not doing that. So, because he considered that God stronger than this God, because they have been winning. He didn't consider the fact that their God is not helping them because they're under discipline for not, that's what it says will happen. But that's what Ahaz does. And so he also pays a huge amount of tribute to Assyria. And Assyria thinks that's great. They want the money and they don't care if Assyria is not a good suzerain. Assyria is taken over no matter what. So this was a really foolish move. So then they come in and he is king while they wipe out Israel. So this has gone on right as they're coming in to take out Israel. So Isaiah, who lives during this time, Isaiah reaches from here to Hezekiah, and he comes up to Ahaz, and he goes, "The Lord has a message for you." Now Ahaz has not been following the Lord, right? So comes in, he goes, and he goes, "The Lord is going to fight for you," and he goes, "I don't think so." And he says, "Okay, so ask the Lord to give you a sign. Any sign, anything under the, ask for a miracle, I'll do it for you." And Ahaz goes, "No, I would not ask the Lord for a miracle." Now, when you first read that, you think, this is a humble heart. No, this is not a humble heart. This is like, no way. And you're going to find this out as you read farther into the story. This is Isaiah chapter 7, by the way. And he goes, as you read farther into the story, it says, he goes, "No, I won't ask you." And Isaiah goes to Ahaz, "You can ask for anything as high as the heaven, or you can ask for anything as deep as Sheol. Pick it, anything. What do you want? You want that mountain to blow up? You want, what do you want? Pick it." And he goes, "I don't pick anything." So he won't cooperate, because he's got this treaty with Assyria. He's depending on Assyria. So this is the answer. And God goes, I will give you a sign. And this will be the sign that there's going to be a virgin who is going to bear a child. And this child, hold with me on this one, before this child is old enough to know right or wrong, they will come in and destroy you. And it says, while he's still eating his curds and his honey, and they have taken the idiom for curds and milk and honey flowing in the land to be a great thing, to be that's all you're going to get now. There's you got to go scrounge for your honey. You got to go scrounge. So your blessing has become a curse. So it turns out that in the next chapter, God has Isaiah go find this virgin prophetess, and they marry, and they have this baby, and before that baby is old enough to know his right from wrong, Assyria has come in. So that's it. But now all those prophecies, the long-term prophecy of this, all these prophecies, almost all of them have an immediate and a future. And the future one is a virgin who really gets pregnant without being married. And that's the one of Jesus. And we know that is a real exact prophecy, not just one we've put together, because the New Testament tells us that this is that. So that's one of those that we know exactly. I just kind of love that story. And so Ahaz doesn't get it, and there's one point where he decides, okay, this isn't working, so I'm going to go down to Egypt and make a suzerain vassal treaty with them. So as soon as he does that, because this is your next warring party trying to come up and take and hold them off, right? As soon as he does that, these guys get really, really mad. And they come in and start to, anyway, it goes on. Ahaz his whole life, and then he dies, and I'm skipping parts. And then his son is Hezekiah. And Hezekiah comes in, and Hezekiah is a good king. And one of the first things he does is he is going to clean things up. He gets that altar out of there. He gets things. He pulls down a lot of the, when they say that they have doing incense on the high places, anybody ever read that and you go, they're offering incense on the high places? That means that whenever there's a hill, they have built a little altar, and it's not to God, it's to Baal or to the other ones, and they are offering stuff to there. And they are doing it in the pattern of Baal worship, which is really gross. Okay? And there's one coming up in Jeremiah where it's described that he has to get rid of the temple prostitutes. And the word is masculine. So that shows you what's going on. And that was going on inside the temple at that time. But I'm jumping ahead of the story. So anyway, I'm just giving you a clue of what this looks like. When you just stand there in your brain, you think, okay, they're just standing there and smoke's going up and they're saying a prayer. It just doesn't look that invasive until you see what's really going on. And that's not really good. Okay, so he moves the altar out of the way. He gets God's altar back in there. He pulls down Baal's altar out of that place. And by this time, the northern kingdom is taken out. But the Assyrians are still on the move. So they're just, they've taken out this one, and they're still on the move. This takes several years. They have to go back, they keep going back, they get resupplied, they do this and that. The king of Assyria has died, and his next guy has come in, so the names change, and we're probably up to Shalmaneser by now, or maybe up to Tiglath-Pileser. Anyway, I'm losing which ones go next. Do you know all those? Do you know which ones
Off
go
the
next?
top of my head, no.
I mean,
I have notes everywhere, but.
I kind of do, but I lose who's who.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Where are we, excuse me, where are we at in the Bible?
in the Bible we are in 2 Kings,
Okay.
and we are in 2 Chronicles,
Okay.
and we are also in Isaiah.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so these stories in this picture of the thing, which is, let's see, Hezekiah dies. Okay, up to here. This part of the story is the Hezekiah story. And we are in 2 Kings, near the end, and 2 Chronicles. And we are in Isaiah. That's a good question. I meant to say that. It's all kind of swimming in my head. So you can read that. Like Isaiah tells a lot about Hezekiah between 36 and 39, those chapters. There's a lot in there. That's his story. That's Hezekiah's story in there. So that's an interesting thing. So anyway, Hezekiah he restores the temple. He does a lot of really good stuff. He sees that, remember that bronze serpent that Moses made in the wilderness? Okay, people are now offering incense to it. Okay, so they're treating that bronze serpent, which was made for Israelites, as an idol. So he breaks that and destroys the bronze serpent. So Hezekiah does that. He sets up a big Passover feast. They haven't celebrated Passover in, I don't know, a century. Who knows, maybe not that long, but a long time. And so he decides, he sends out this huge envoy. I want you to go through all the north, and everybody who's left, invite them to come. Let's bring them back in. Let's go and get them back in. So he sent, and it takes them like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months to travel the whole place and get everybody back in. Most of them said, are you out of your mind? I'm not going there. A few of them come. Which, I wonder sometimes how much discipline we have to take before we get it into our heads, So some of them come, and Hezekiah breaks the suzerain vassal agreement with Assyria, which does not make Assyria happy in the slightest. He at one point tries to reestablish it, and that didn't work. He goes, and Assyria, and so Hezekiah knows that they are going to attack. So this is when he builds his tunnel. You guys heard of Hezekiah's tunnel? You didn't know Hezekiah's tunnel. That's how they get water from the Gihon string into Jerusalem without going outside the walls of Jerusalem. And they could block it off so that when they're surrounded, the way an enemy would attack would be to surround and put them under siege. That's how they attack. And they just leave them under siege till they have to give up because they're dying of thirst or they're dying of hunger. Right? So that's how they do that. So the last thing you want to do is give water to your enemy. So they blocked off all the outside and brought in the water from underneath. That's Hezekiah's tunnel. That's a really cool thing. He rebuilds the walls. He has time because they're in the midst of all this. Assyria is having other attacks within Egypt coming up and whatnot. So there's lots. The politics of the area is unreal. As you read through it, you start to put these pieces together. And you get all this stuff going on. So he builds that. He makes lots of good new weapons, and he gets them all ready. And Assyria has now moved down, and they are now wiping out Judah. One city at a time. They are wiping out Judah till they get to the point where there's two left. One is called Lachish. It's over here, closer to the coast. I think it's one of the Philistine cities. And there's Jerusalem. And that's it. Those are the two. Those were the two most fortified cities. Those are the two that are left, and Assyria has wiped out. And this is when his name is Sennacherib this time. That's the king this time. I got that one. Thank you, God. He has such a huge army.
What's his name again?
Huh?
What's his name?
Sennacherib.
Okay.
Oh, that's what that word was.
Yeah, that's what
I wasn't sure that was the person.
That's what that is. He is the king of Assyria at the time, which is, what time, when do they, oh, I gotta look here. Oh, I didn't write it down. Anyway, right around here, I think they are going to attack Jerusalem. And this is the fall of the north, so this is after that. And so there's no, he can't run up to the north and get help. There's nothing there. So all they have is what's inside this city. And they come up, and his general's name is Rabshenkin, and he comes and he stands at the wall and he yells up in Judean, not in Aramaic, in Judean, how unable their God is to protect them. And there's this, and Hezekiah's guys are standing on the wall. Those are his main leaders, like it would be, we would say his vice president, his chief of staff, all his main people are standing up there on the wall. And the instructions were, don't answer him, period. So he stands out. This is a big old, long, it's like a whole chapter long in Isaiah, everything he says to him. And he goes, your God has no power. We've wiped every single city out. Not one of their gods protected them. You guys have no chance. You'd be better off to join us. Da, 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 da. And they're supposed to keep. And then finally they yell, they do say, please speak to us in Aramaic and not in Judean, because we understand Aramaic and they didn't want the rest of the people hearing this, right? And he said no. So they don't say anything else. They go back to Hezekiah and tell him what's going on. Hezekiah sends word to Isaiah, please ask God for some help. And God says, okay. He answers, he goes, I'm going to put a rumor in his ear. God is so smart. I'm going to put a rumor in his ear. And in the rumor, something is happening way back at Lachish, and he has to get everybody out of there course, when they get back there, nothing is happening. So, but he gets the whole army out of there. And so that's the first attack. And he's going to invade again. On the second time he puts the city under siege. This time it's the same old thing. Only this time he writes him a letter. And he writes a letter to Hezekiah, he tells the people, don't trust your king's lying to you, your king's telling you that your God will protect you, your God's not going to protect you, look at us, that kind of thing. And so he even says, your God told me to come tell you to give in and surrender to us. And okay, so they go back and they tear their clothes, and Hezekiah tears his clothes. This is mourning. You see that? They put ashes on their head and tear their clothes. They are in deep, deep problem, sorrow, and mourning. And he takes the letter. I just think this is great. And he goes to the temple, and it's probably on the temple steps, because he's not going inside. That's what happened to his great-grandfather, right?
Right.
And he lays it out, and he basically says, God, do you see this letter? Would you please read this? What are we going to do? It's just, I love the way he does that, and God listens to his prayer, and he answers his prayer, and he gives the answer to Isaiah, because remember, way, way, way back at the Mount Sinai, when God directly spoke to the people, and they said, no, don't ever speak to us like that again. That's when he set up the prophet system. So God speaks to the prophet speaks to the king speaks to the prophet speaks to God. So God sends word to Isaiah and says, don't you worry about it. He is not going to even shoot an arrow at you. So he comes in, so Hezekiah is okay, and then that night, the angel of the Lord came and wiped out 185,000 of their soldiers. But what I think is really funny is it says they woke up the next morning and they were all dead. I like the way, obviously some of them woke up and saw that the rest of them were dead, but I just think that's funny. They woke up in the morning and they saw that they were all dead. That's pretty cool. So Sennacherib takes what's left and retreats back to Assyria. By the time he gets back there, his own son's assassinated because he had this horrible, humiliating defeat by this stupid little city that's not even as big as Egypt, right? Okay, so that buys peace in the time for a while. It does. In the meantime, just to let you know, Babylon, which is just a little freaky, tiny little place, is growing stronger, right? And it's growing stronger, and it's on the move. It's not there yet. We're about 50 years out, but it's growing stronger. So Hezekiah has his own downfalls. Oh, in the middle of this story, and I just realized this just this week, in the middle of this story, you heard of that Hezekiah gets really sick, and he's about to die, and he goes and asks God, and he says, God, I've been following you all my life. What is this, right? And God says, okay, I'm going to give you this sign, and the shadow will go back 10 steps, and he'll get healed. You guys heard all that one? Okay, I thought, the sign for what? That was the sign that he would not lose this battle. He said, I'll give you the sign that I will win this battle for you, that you'll get well, and that will go back. So I hadn't put those two stories simultaneous before. So that was pretty cool. And I thought, here I am jumping out of my chair all of a sudden. Well, a little while later, Babylon sends an embassy over just to talk to Hezekiah, because maybe he just won this battle against Assyria, and they kind of want to know what's going on. But they come and we've heard you were sick, we thought we'd send you a gift, and I'm thinking, really? Anyway, so they show up, and they're going to console Hezekiah because he's now well. And Hezekiah brings him in, and he shows off everything. He shows off all of his treasury. He opens up the treasury and shows these guys the treasury. Not a wise decision. He opens up the armory and shows them all the military might that they have. He shows them everything. And he thinks it's not going to matter. There's just this wimpy little country way over here, right? So he shows them everything. This is Hezekiah's big end-of-life downfall. And Isaiah comes over to him, I don't know, next day. Hey, here you had some visitors. What'd you show them? Oh, I showed them everything. And Isaiah goes, oh, not smart, you know? And he goes, it will be, and it will be that your sons, not direct son, but down the line sons, will go, they will conquer your sons and take all this stuff. But it won't happen in your lifetime. And the one thing that Hezekiah says that just really smacks me, I want to go smack his face, is he says, well, at least we'll have truth and peace in my lifetime. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, I was not, but I don't want to go smack his face for that.
Debbie, is some of the stuff that was shown, is this what Ahasuerus used?
But who?
In the book of Esther?
Ahasuerus used?
Yeah. Or is that timeline so?
That's too far off.
It is.
This
Okay.
will be what Nebuchadnezzar takes away.
Okay.
Okay? So Nebuchadnezzar is going to come in right here. So here we are here. We are less than 100 years out, about 100 years out, where Babylon has become so strong. This section right here is the Babylonian invasion. And they are going to invade 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And so he will take all that out. And
So this is the stuff that was used for, was it the next king that sees the handwriting on the wall?
Oh, that's after that,
That's way
too.
after that too.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Actually, what all this stuff that's going to be seen is going to, in these kings right here, is going to be used as tribute to where they try to pay off either Assyria or they try to pay off Egypt. They're going to give away their swords, they're going to give away their stuff, they're going to give away their gold, and they're going to try to pay these tributes to keep these people from destroying them. That's what most of this is going to go for. When we get down to the end, Babylon will just come in and take what's left. Everything that's left. Including stripping the gold off the temples. And everything that's left. The Ark of the Covenant and everything. So, yeah. Anyway, that's jumping ahead a little bit. But yes, good question though. But yes, that is, and there is some of that gets carried over when he takes the vessels, which is like the cups and plates and the gold pieces, and then he carries them into the story of Babylon, and we get to the handwriting on the wall. They are drinking to their gods out of those vessels. So the story all connects, it's like, oh my goodness, right? Yeah. So that's what happens with that.
Thanks for clearing me up.
Yeah. It gets jumbled. All the stories get jumbled, and I can understand that. So Hezekiah gets sick. He made his bad decision. He does get his 15 years of life. During that 15 years of life, that extra 15 years that he gets, he has a child that is born during that time. And that child's name is Manasseh, and he is one of the worst kings that the South ever had. So he is born during that time. He is from 695 to 642, so he is a long reign. Is that how you spell it? Yeah, in the sense.
Yeah, GH.
Okay. He's a really bad guy. He is going to worship Moloch. Moloch is the god of Moab, which is right here on this side of the Dead Sea. And that is a particular detestable. He will have his sons, he will put his sons through the fire. So he will sacrifice his sons. He will do his grandfather or his grandfather, who was Ahaz, put the bronze altar in the temple. Manasseh will put an idol of Zeus inside the Holy of Holies. Yeah, this is a bad thing. Yes. So, and if you jump ahead of the story, and if you're familiar with some of the prophecies of Daniel, have you heard of the abomination of desolation? The abomination of desolation is when they put an idol inside the Holy of Holies. And so this is like a precursor to that one. And he puts an idol in there, and
I do have a question. So at this point, is the Holy Spirit in the Holy of Holies?
at this point, it seems like he is, because Ezekiel hasn't had his vision yet that he comes out. So how all that works, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you would think they would drop dead walking in there with the idol.
Right.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
I actually thought about that too, but I thought, okay,
Just must be shield, because he can't look upon evil. So,
I don't know how they did that. Maybe it wasn't even in the Holy of Holies, maybe it was in the holy place. Okay, that's a possibility. I just know it went. I thought I read that went inside the holiest of place, but I don't know the answer to that question. So he's not a good guy. He's in Hezekiah, and he's in he's in Second Kings and Second Chronicles, and eventually he gets captured by the Assyrians. They come back in because he tries to make a new suzerain treaty with Assyria, and then he breaks it and goes down to Egypt again, and Assyria gets really mad, so they come and get Manasseh, and they bring him out, they take him out with bronze hooks and chains. I'm not quite sure where the hooks go, but this doesn't sound fun. I don't know if the hook is in his nose, if the hook is in his ear, if the hook is in his arm, I don't know, but whatever it is, this doesn't sound fun. And they take him all the way back, and they actually, you can tell that the Assyrians have control over Babylon at this time because they take him all the way and put him in jail in Babylon. And it's in Babylon where he finally figures out that maybe he should repent. And he does, and he gets to come back, and from then on, he's pretty good, but he doesn't get the idols off the hills. He doesn't take down the incense burning places and all that. So this is a 50, I think it's 55 years of one bad king while the Assyrians are trying to take over.
it's the one thing God didn't want them to do.
Yes, it's just like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So one thing God didn't want them to do. Okay, so Isaiah, I have this box right here for Isaiah. And I put the box right there with Isaiah and Nahum because those two prophets are happening during this time. Right, and then we're going to jump to this time. And as far as minor prophets go, we've already covered 6. So we have 6 more. So the easiest thing to do is to go through it. Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, and Micah. We're done with those. We go Nahum. Okay, wait a minute. Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, and Micah. Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah. The next 3 are the prophets to this time period, and the last 3 are the prophets to after they come back out of exile. So it's first 6 is when they're both kingdoms are going, and the next 3 is when this kingdom is going, and the last 3 would be like next week when we're returning from exile. So that's how I remember where they're at, or what they're doing, right? Just in general, gives me a general idea. So up here you will see that there's the great big parenthesis thing that's coming down. Okay, Second and Kings and Second Chronicles covers that whole area. Okay, Nahum covers, I dropped him below there. Nahum covers just this area right here in the middle. And I should maybe put him above the line or something because now he's confused, but he's
Confused.
He's confused. Nahum is a prophecy to encourage those who are following God's plan that Assyria will be taken out. So this is a prophecy against Assyria. And if you have an enemy coming in at you like that, you might need a little bit of encouraging words from God that yes, justice will happen. So that's what that is. It's like poor Assyria, and he's going to talk to as Nineveh. This is going to happen to Nineveh, and this is going to happen to Nineveh, and this is going to happen to Nineveh. And as you read it, you can almost go. You can almost feel like it's a play-by-play, and you can almost hear the bombs hitting. But there's no bombs, but they don't have bombs yet. But you can almost hear it because it's a play-by-play about how bad it would be against Nineveh. And so Nahum is God's encouragement to the people that judgment will happen on them. People of Nineveh should have carried over to their children what Jonah taught them, and they didn't. So Jonah is just about 100 years before. Nineveh is going to get wiped out right here. 6:12, and it's going to get wiped out by Babylon. Okay, so, and then Isaiah, I just thought I'd show you some cool passages in Isaiah. There's tons and tons of prophecies in Isaiah, and he talks a lot about the first advent of Jesus Christ. Of course, if you talk about the second advent of Jesus Christ, it is all over the place. You're going to have the second advent of Jesus Christ in almost every prophecy. You've got stuff on promises of the kingdom, promises of this, promises of that. And so that's a much harder one to sort through, partially because we haven't lived through it yet, and you don't know what it looks like yet. And so the first one, if I give you some, you got 7:14. That's the virgin shall be with child. You got 9:6. That's the son will be born, a child will be born, a son will be given, and the government will sit on his shoulders. Remember that one? Okay, you got 11:1 and 2. I think this one is about the branch, but I could be wrong on that one. You got 42:1. I'm just giving you a list of first advent prophecies in Isaiah. And I don't even know that I got all of them. I just got some. There's 49:16. I happen to like this one. This is the one, and it says that our names are inscribed on his hands. And I always picture that with the wounds at the same time. That's my picture. That's not the picture it says. That's my picture. You also have 56. Talks about how his back will be ripped.
His back will be ripped.
And then you have the whole chapter 53. You guys know that one, right? Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter. Yeah, so there's that. I'm sure there's more. There's a lot of good ones here. The 61:1 and 2 is the one Jesus quotes in the synagogue at Nazareth when he's home. And he says, today this has been fulfilled in your sight. Meaning, yes, I am Messiah, I've come. That's what that, and they would have known that. They would have taken it like that. They would have gone, that's a prophecy of Messiah. And if some guy gets up there and says, this has just been fulfilled today in your sight, then they would go, oh. And their reaction was, no, you must be lying.
Because he's a child.
Well, he was an adult then, but he was born there. I mean, he wasn't born there, he grew up there. He was born back then.
Yeah.
So, yes, sorry. Jumping over. So those are some cool things in Isaiah. If I went, I am personally diving into Isaiah, and it's bigger and deeper than you can do right here. So
That's our next study then? That's what you said?
I don't think I could do that one in 12 weeks. So,
It's okay, 12 months.
so we have, Nineveh actually will get destroyed. Nahum talks, it's back here, I think. Nahum talks about the destruction. This is when Nineveh is destroyed.
What's that Nineveh would be by water?
That Nineveh would be, yeah, it's not. It's way in here.
So is there a mighty river that,
It's on the Tigris.
okay, am I getting the Jonah story?
No, your Jonah story is right. Jonah is right here, and he takes off and he goes past here, over to here, like to the edge of Spain, or Tarsus as far away as possible. And then he gets whaled back and spit up here,
It's a bit of where, I'm sorry.
right back here where we started,
Okay,
and then he has to make the trek.
okay, in my mind's eye, I'm imagining him being spit out on a
On Nineveh.
beach in front of the Ninevites.
Yeah,
Who
no,
go, oh,
he actually has to make the trek over the first
because
crescent.
they worship fish?
Well, that's these guys, that's the Philistines that worship fish.
Okay.
So I don't know for sure what Nineveh worships.
Okay.
That's a long walk to be thinking about what had just happened to him.
Yes, yes, he gets to think about it for a while. Yes.
He's still arriving at that.
And he's still arriving without a tooth, yes. He doesn't come out of that very well. And, yeah, he's really, really sorry for that poor plant. Yeah.
In terms of miles, about how far would that be?
In terms of miles, from here, just because I figured this out for the kids not too long ago, from here to here, which is Paul's journey, from here to here, is like walking from Sacramento to the Canadian border.
Wow.
Okay, that's from here to here. So from here to here might be about that same distance.
Wow.
You know, because you can't go like this. That's desert.
Yeah.
You can't go like that. You have to go like this. And even the armies, Babylon is going to bring his army this way.
Wow.
They're not going to go this way.
Makes me want to go back to Marine's story. Jonah.
So, yeah, Jonah would have had to walk. It'd be like probably walking from Sacramento to the Canadian border. Something I can't do. Okay, you take a break and we will come back with Ammon and Josiah next. And his son is Ammon. Ammon is a really, really bad guy. I didn't put him on the list. He only rules for 2 years. The only thing he doesn't do is, his father did repent, Manasseh did repent, that's what, and he got to come back from Babylon because he repented and he decided that yes, God is God, but his son Ammon did not. So he continues with all the same bad stuff, but he does not repent. And after 2 years, he's only king for 2 years. I think he was 22 when he became king, and his own servants kill him. So that's the end of that. His son is Josiah, and he's 8 years old. Now, Ammon would have been I'm just thinking of how early Aaron would have been to have kids. If he dies at age 24 and his 8-year-old son takes over. So,
16.
yeah, so there's lots of wives and lots of kids, and that happens very early in their lives, and that just sort of breaks my heart. But anyway, Josiah is our last good king. He's on here for, you see him in purple, he's on there from what, 640 to right here. 640 to 609. And that's Josiah, and he's just a really good king. And by the time he's 12, he's searching for God. And I was thinking about this, what was his influence with searching for God? Because his dad didn't help him any. His grandpa didn't help him any. But he had this heart, so he
Had to be one of those ladies that was his.
one of his
Yeah.
ladies taking care of him, or one of his nurses, or one of his,
Praying grandma.
somebody is in there helping him. And so he decides that he needs to restore everything.
story.
Not only the temple, but everything. He goes through the land. He gets rid of idols. He gets rid of high places. He does lots and lots and lots of really good things. And he starts, by the time he's like 18 or 19, and he goes and has, or maybe 20, I'm losing some of my ages, and he has his officers go into the temple and find all the treasury. And he says, all right, you're going to take this treasury, whatever it is, and you're going to spread it out amongst the workers, and they're going to restore this temple. And he said, you're not even going to ask for a timesheet. We're going to just do it on honor, because these people are going to do it on their honor. And we're not going to ask for receipts for the spending of the stuff. How much did you spend on wood? How much did... No, we're going to give them the money, and they're going to fix the place. And I thought, what a cool thing, Anyway, so he does, and so one day, let me see if I get these guys' names right, because I don't want to get this mixed up. I didn't write them down. Okay. His scribe, a scribe is like, it's the guy who writes things, but it's like your lawyer, it's like your head, kind of like that. They're cleaning this out, and the high priest, I know these two names too, darn. Anyway, they are, there it is, get on the right side. Hilkiah and Shaphan, there we go. Okay, so Hilkiah is the high priest and Shaphan is the scribe, and they're cleaning, and in the back room, somewhere, stuck in a closet, dusty, is a scroll. And they bring it out, and here, this is crazy. He's high priest, and he's never seen the scroll. I'm thinking, okay, what does this do to the life of the Jewish people, When you have Manasseh like that, you have a new high priest coming in and he hasn't even seen the scroll. So he brings it out, he shows it to Shaphan, who takes it to the king, and they go, well, he reads it and goes, you gotta take this to the king. So Shaphan takes it to the king, and he doesn't know if he wants to. I mean, I'm trying to, put life into the story. I think if I was him, I'd say, okay, so he starts off talking about how well the finances and the temple is going, and it's going this and this and this, and we're doing great, and we're getting this restored, and he goes on, and he goes, and we, and by the way, we found this scroll, and the king says, okay, read it to me. Oh my goodness, that was the scroll of Moses, and he reads it, and Josiah falls apart, crying, weeping, and tears his clothes, and he goes, God should destroy us right now, because our people have not kept the law. And I thought, yes.
I look at society right now throughout the world and how horrible things are happening like throughout history. But we are just like, oh, it's going to be the end times, it's really bad now. And something like this.
It's been really bad lots of times.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
of medieval times too, and I think it's
Yeah.
been
Yes.
bad a lot of times.
Yes.
It's been bad.
And one day, someone's going to come in, and go,
Right.
oh, look, we were supposed to be doing this.
Yes, yes, and it's,
Right.
it's
I mean,
been
it's in
there.
case Jesus isn't coming for a long, long time, and we're going to.
You know, I've often thought that we have lived through, quote, end times.
So many times.
And over again. Now, one of those is gonna really be the last one, but, and maybe this is it, but maybe this isn't it. So, yes, you live as if it's it, but as if it's not it at the same time. I don't, so that you can continue on, but you still live as if it's it.
Yes.
And I think it's important to study the Old Testament because I was shocked because I didn't grow up in the church, when I found out that homosexuality was in bestiality was in the Old Testament, that God destroyed this, that, and the other. They mentioned menstruation in the Old
Yes,
Testament.
they talk about
It
everything.
really brings not just everyday life, but definitely lots and lots of evil that has been since the garden.
Since the garden.
Since the garden.
If the first two children, if the
Yeah.
first child commits murder, it did not take long for things to go downhill. Yeah. So he gets the whole nation together and brings them in, and they have this big time of repentance and clean up the temple and all this. And he does this quickly because this is done within about a year, which is fast considering times back then and what building is like and fixing is like. And he gathers as many people in Judah as possible. And he says, you're coming to the temple now. And he's about, 24, 25 now, or somewhere in that area. And he stands there and he reads the scroll to people. And I want to see that tape in heaven. I really do. I want to see that tape. The people are standing. They're not like, okay, let me get my lawn chair out,
Right.
And this is not a quick read. Genesis through Leviticus is not a quick read. And people are standing, and the children are there, and the babies are there in their arms, and everybody is there. The old people, everybody's there, and they are reading this, and it's just really cool. So
How long does it go? Doesn't it say it's like
and then he sets up Passover,
2 days or something?
and Passover lasts a week, and then they decide to extend it a week, so it ends up being a 2-week celebration. And they bring in like so many sheep and sacrifices that they have to use more than the bronze altar because they can't sacrifice them fast enough. So they had other ones on the side, and they do the sacrifice, and then they hand it to the Levite, and he skins it and cuts it up, and then they do the sacrifice, they hand it to the next guy, and he cuts, because the Levites can't actually do it. It has to be a priest of mine to do it. So they follow all the rules really well, and they figure out, can you imagine how much food it takes to feed the nation for 2 weeks? And that's what they sacrifice, and feed the nation for 2 weeks. So it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and he renews the covenant. He actually makes them, he actually gets down and says, yes, God, we are going to do this covenant, which is really cool. He reforms the nation, removes the idols. This is where the male prostitution comes in. That's what was going on in Judah at those high places. And if you read that, that's in 2 Kings 23:7. And if you go to your Blue Bible app and you look up that Hebrew word, it will tell you what the word is, and then it will say it's in masculine. So you go, oh, that lets you know what's going on. I did that because I wanted to make sure that the little commentary that I was reading was accurate in that, because in the English Bible it doesn't say that, it just says prostitution. It's a masculine word. So that's what that is, and he goes through the north, and he goes to Bethel. You guys remember what's at Bethel? There's a golden calf at Bethel, and he takes the golden calf down and he grinds it up to dust. And I'm not sure, I don't remember for sure what he does with it. I do know that he took all the priests that worshipped at the golden calf, that led the worship, and he killed them there, and he burned their bones on that thing, which defiles it. So it can't be used again. It doesn't.
Old Testament, man.
Yes, yes, yes. Life is rough back then.
Yeah.
There really is. We think life's rough now. Life is rough back then. And it doesn't say what happened to the one in Dan up in north, but we got that one. So he does only one little thing that's not good at the end of his life. And he has this huge, huge Passover, like I said. He returns the ark to the Holy of Holies. So they must have taken it out. It doesn't say where it was. It just says that they returned it. I hadn't, that's right. You know, when I said the idol went in, okay, so they must have taken it out of the idol. And he returns the ark to the Holy of Holies. And, he takes down Solomon's high places. You know where Solomon's high places were? It was on the hill, on the mountain just east of Jerusalem. That is the Mount of Olives. And it just hurt me that Solomon had put his high places to all his wives' idols on the Mount of Olives. Because to me, that's a precious place. So he gets those down. And those have been up since Solomon. So, wow. So he does do one thing about this time. We have moved forward in the timeline. We are up to about right in here. We're at the end of Josiah's life. He's going to die in, I think, 609. And Nineveh has fallen. So Nineveh has now fallen to Babylon. Babylon is now the dominant nation in this area, and they've come up and taken Nineveh, and they are on their way down here. Their objective is Egypt. Okay, so now there's a guy named Pharaoh down here, and he is Pharaoh Necho. Anybody heard of Pharaoh Necho? Pharaoh Necho is coming up to help Assyria, what's left of Assyria, to help the rest of Assyria. It used to be his enemy, now it's their friends, and they are trying to stop Babylon, what's left of it, okay? So they've already taken out Nineveh, they're trying to stop Babylon from coming. Pharaoh Necho is charging through here. As he charges through there, Josiah thinks that Pharaoh Necho's coming after him. So he goes out in battle to that, and Pharaoh goes, "No, I'm not here to fight you, go back. I am following the Lord, and I will not attack you or anything." Well, Josiah doesn't listen. And there's this place called Megiddo. And if you stand on the hill and you look down to the far right, it's kind of an open area now, but it used to be a narrow gorge. And Pharaoh Necho comes up there and Josiah comes up there. Remember seeing this? And Pharaoh Necho kills Josiah. Actually, he dies by accident. Okay? He dies by accident down there. He dies in that valley, which, you remember seeing that valley? Kind of makes you go, whoa, yeah. So that's where Josiah died. And so he has, Pharaoh Necho now is taking charge as a new suzerain. And I don't see the agreement there, but I see the function there. As he comes back, he loses. This is called the Battle of Carchemish up here. This is the Battle of Megiddo down here. That's where Josiah dies. Battle of Carchemish is where Assyria loses, Pharaoh Necho loses, and Babylon takes over. Okay? Pharaoh Necho goes running back to Egypt, and he doesn't come out again. Egypt does not become a power again in this story, in the Bible story. And so we're down in the last 20 years of the timeline. we're from here to here. Maybe that's a little bit more than 20 years, but we're close, right? And so he's coming down, and Pharaoh Necho, as he retreats, goes into Judah and says, okay, your king is dead because we killed him, so I'm going to make the new king. So he takes Josiah's second son, changes his name, and makes him king. He lasts for 3 months. And then he gets hauled off out of there. And then Pharaoh, well, actually, I think I have it wrong. The people made that guy king, and Pharaoh comes in and says, nope, you're not going to be king. I'm taking you as hostage to Egypt, and I'm setting your older brother as king, and I'm changing his name. And this is Jehoiakim. So Jehoiakim comes in right at, what, this would be 609? Okay, that wasn't his first name, that's the name that Pharaoh Necho gave him. I can't remember his first name. Jehoiakim is, I think, 22 or 24, which means I figured out backwards. He would have been 12 years old at the Passover that his father held. And I thought that was important because at 12 you are old enough to remember, and you are old enough to get the message. And he's 1 year short of a bar mitzvah, which makes him, Jesus was 12 years old when he went into the temple. So Jehoiakim is old enough to be held responsible for his belief system this way. And he had a good father to teach him. He becomes a really bad king. And he is going to go back and forth between making a treaty with Egypt, a vassal treaty with Egypt, and a vassal treaty, Egypt and vassal treaty with Assyria. He's going to go back, with Babylon. He's going to go back and forth. And it's all going to get mixed up in there. And he's going to do this one, and then he's going to do this one, and then that one's going to get mad and attack, and then this one's going to get mad and attack, and it's going to be like a mess. All right? And while 3 years after he becomes king, 3 years, Nebuchadnezzar is now he's not actually king of Babylon, but he is the leader of their army. His dad is king. His dad's going to die soon. He's going to become king. But Nebuchadnezzar is going to come up, and he's going to attack, and he's going to surround Jerusalem, and he's going to take a bunch of the royal family back to Babylon. And the young men, he's going to take the young men, he's going to take the smartest, the brightest, the best looking ones. He's going to take the ones with no scars, nothing. He's going to take the best that they've got. He's going to walk into the royal family of Judah, the line of David, and take their best guys. Josephus says that he took 70 of them. This is called the first invasion. This happens in 605. Do you know who's in that group? I know you do. Daniel. Daniel gets taken out right here. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Those aren't their real names. Daniel is his real name. The other ones are Azariah, I don't know. I know them as Shadrach, Meshach. Those are their Babylonian names. So they get taken then. So he invades. They are teenagers. They get taken out. And in the meantime, starting around right about here and going on is Jeremiah. And these guys get hauled off in order to be completely brainwashed. That is the purpose of taking them. He's going to take the smartest ones. He's going to take them to Babylon. He's going to put them through all their universities. He's going to train them in the worship of their gods. And he is going to assimilate them into their society, make them leaders in his government. And he is going to turn them Babylonian. So that is the purpose of that. And this has always been well, since she just entered the room, Dana's and my, our vision for the children's ministry here. How do you train a child who is a teenager to be so strong in the Lord that you could take him away from his family, his church, his Bible, every single thing he owns and knows, indoctrinate him with all the evils of the world, and he still stands faithful. That has been the goal. That was our stated ministry goal. If we had the stated ministry goal, that was pretty close to the stated ministry goal. So it's just a guess on my part, but my guess is, since Jeremiah was a leader to the royal family, that he taught those guys.
Wow.
It doesn't actually say that. It does say that when Daniel gets all the way into Babylon, that he has a copy of Jeremiah, the book, and he reads it. But it doesn't say that he was, I'm just telling you, that's just an assumption on my part that he learned from Jeremiah. He could have also learned from Habakkuk. Habakkuk is the other prophet at that time. Zephaniah was a little earlier. Zephaniah is over here. So he's a little earlier in the time. He's back there when things are still going pretty well with Josiah. They think Zephaniah probably helped the people a lot to follow Josiah and turn them around to the Lord. Whereas Daniel and Habakkuk are right here at the end. So here's Habakkuk. I don't know if I spelled that right. But they're right there. So they are taken away. And now we're in the book of Jeremiah. If you read Jeremiah, Jeremiah is one of the hardest books to read because it is not in chronological order at all. And I can't even figure out the topical order. I can't even, I just have to just take it apart like a puzzle and piece it together. That's all I can do. But it will go along for a while, and it will be talking about, you see your kings right here? It'll be talking about Jehoiakim, and then it will jump over to Zedekiah, and then it will go back to Jehoaz, and then it will go down to Jehoiachin, and then it will mention Coniah, and it just is like this. And then sometimes you go for a whole long time, and it's all principles. This is what you should be doing, this is what you should be doing, and you can't identify at what time frame he's at. But all kinds of things happen to Jeremiah. I have on your chart that Jehoiakim imprisons Jeremiah. That's B, that's wrong. It's down here under Zedekiah, so I got the mixed up. He might have been imprisoned by them too, but I couldn't find it. Everything went horrible for Jeremiah. Jeremiah had the roughest life. Talk about being an incredibly faithful preacher that no one listens to. I mean, he had his assistant, and there's this one guy named Ebed Melech, who is, I think, an Ethiopian who works in the court, who helped him out one time. But that's it. That would be so hard. And there were times he was captured, there was times he was beaten, there were times he's yelled at and said, "We're going to kill you because you're saying that Babylon's going to come over and take over, and we don't want that to happen, so we don't want that news."
Right.
And so on and on. Well, one of the main things that this great guy here, Jehoiakim, does, remember who his father is? Remember what his father found and what they read? Okay, so one day, God tells Jeremiah to write it all down and take it to the king and read it to him. And so he writes the book of Jeremiah, or most of the book of Jeremiah. And he has Baruch, his assistant, because Jeremiah can't leave jail, he's under house arrest. And he has Baruch take it to the king, and the king looks at it, and he has his advisor start to read it. He gets into it a little bit, and he gets up, he takes the scroll, this is the word of God, he takes the scroll, and he tears it, and he throws it in the fire. and burns it up. Yeah, I would not want the wrath of God to come down on me after such a thing. That would be, yeah. So anyway, he's, he gets, so there's all that story. At the moment, I'm not remembering the recompense of that story. Is that when, those of you remember, is that when he gets thrown into the pit and the guy from Ethiopia makes a rope out of rags? And he's working for the king, and he can't find a rope. And he has to make a rope out of rags, and he ties him around, drops it down into the well to pull out Jeremiah. And he had to do this undercover, or he would have been, which is a lot of faith. Yeah. So he does that. He gets, we get down to, he rules for 11 years. We get down to 597. And Nebuchadnezzar comes in again. And this time he surrounds the city under siege. He's going to take about 10,000 guys out. He's going to take out the best of the community. If they are experts in pottery, they're gone. If they are experts in welding or making weapons or whatever their main businesses things are, they are going. He's going to take about 10,000 of them. He's going to take the best of the army. He's going to take the best of the people that are left. And while he's there, he kills Jehoiakim and puts his son in place. And his son's name is Jehoiachin. Yeah, you got to get the Kim and the Chin. The Kim comes first and then the Chin. And so you just, I don't know, figure out a little game to play. But Kim comes before Chin. And Chin's other name is Koniah. And Koniah rules for 3 months.
What?
3 months. And Koniah does some really bad stuff in 3 months. And Jeremiah records that God says to Koniah, if you were Koniah, my signet ring, I would take you off and destroy you. That's a huge statement because of the value. This is how they signed this is their signature. They put it in this is their name. He's going to take his name off of him and throw him. And he goes, this guy already has a bunch of kids and a bunch of wives. And he goes, we're going to write him down childless. And you're going to say that never, ever will a son of this man rule on David's throne again.
So this is God to the prophet?
This is God to the prophet, and Jeremiah gets to tell this to this guy. Okay, so here's a problem. What was the promise to David?
There will always be someone on the throne from your line.
Write him down childless. Uh-oh. We have an unconditional covenant with God's name on the line. Stop it. So, how does this play out? Because it's a great story. So, never again. Well, Koniah never has a child on the throne. The next guy, Zedekiah, is Jehoiakim's brother or nephew or uncle or somebody, okay? And he's related, but he's not this child. And so never again does that child, although the legal line continues here, but never once again is going to ever sit on the throne. So if you want to jump forward in your mind to Matthew chapter 1, and you read the list, you're going to have this go down through Joseph, to Jesus. And Joseph is not Jesus' real father. If you read the one through Luke, you're gonna go through David's other son, which is Nathan. And it goes down to the guy they think is Mary's father, which is almost everybody agrees that this is Mary's father. Okay, Mary. And then you have Jesus. So God keeps his promise. God keeps the legal line for the father and the genetic line for the mother. So God still keeps the promise to David because he doesn't identify it with the initial covenant, which son it is. Okay? We just all go because it's Solomon that comes next. We all go that line. But this is Luke's genealogy. Have you ever wondered why it's in there twice? You know, you go, why would we just listen to this list again? Now we have to read the list again. It's a bunch of names on the list again. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for everything. And
Because
goodness,
one is paternal, one is maternal.
yeah, this is paternal, but this is not the real father.
Right.
So but in Jewish tradition, the line goes through here, so he would have been identified as the next king because he came from this family. But this is the genetic line. So this is called the curse of Coniah. That's what that is. I just love how God fixes all the problems. You know? I just love that. So that's the curse of Coniah that goes under him. And immediately after his 3 months, he gets hauled off with his mom, and they get taken with hooks and chains to Babylon, along with 10,000. And this is the second deportation right here. So that's the second one. This was the first one. That's going to be the third one. And between here and here, oops, is Zedekiah. And he is not a good king. And he does the back and forth between Babylon and Egypt and tries to manipulate who's in charge. And even if you read through Jeremiah, it will say, don't think that Egypt's going to help you. Don't go down to Egypt. Don't make a treaty with Egypt. Go ahead and let the Babylonians take over. And of course, they don't want to hear that, right? We get down to 1 year before, and that means the Babylonians have been encircling. We're at 587, 588, right in there. They've been encircled for 3 years. They're right there outside the gates. And Jeremiah is saying, this is the word of God. If you want to live, open the doors and go with them. If you want to die, stay here. Okay? That's it. They won't listen. They won't listen. There's going to be an overlap with next week because Ezekiel is going to have some stuff going on right here. That's important, but we'll cover that next week. Just I'll let you know. There's stuff going on right there with Ezekiel. And God tells Jeremiah to go, there's 1 year before. He goes, go buy this piece of property. And it's kind of a kinsman redeemer type thing. And it's from your uncle, and they need you to buy it. They go buy this piece of property, and they have to make this legal agreement. He has to pay all this money to buy a piece of property that he knows is going to be gone and conquered in less than a year. And God says, that is to show them that I will buy you back. So that was really cool. In the midst of all this, in my last 10 minutes, in the midst of all this, Jeremiah writes a letter to, he's over here, he writes a letter to the group of people that were taken back to Babylon in the last 10, 11 years, right? And you guys know it. It's Jeremiah 29. And you know that one. And it goes on and it tells them it's going to be 70 years. The timing of all this matches how many Sabbath rest years they skipped. So it's not like God says, all right, I've just had enough. Now is when it's happening. I can't put up with you anymore. No, he's picking it up as to teach them they need their 70 years. They haven't taken their 70-year rest. Every 7 years they're supposed to take a rest. They haven't done it all this time. The 70 years, I always thought, did you just get so mad you couldn't handle it anymore, God? And that's not it. It's this timing as to what he told them back then that this would happen. So that's just, it increases your respect for God when it just looks like he's just furiously mad. And yet he's actually just doing what he told them.
So it's the 7 years times,
However many it took to get to 7, yeah, they missed their 490 years, I guess.
okay,
They missed their 7-year rest enough 70 times.
okay.
Okay, so they
So
need
this storyline is the,
is the 490 years. Yes. So they need to catch up their 70 years, which is what they're doing.
So it's 7 times 70, which is very interesting because Jesus said, how often should we forgive someone?
Yes. There's all kinds of stuff.
I know.
As a matter of fact, I have flown by so many cool things that I wish I could tell you, and I haven't told you about. But in the midst of this crisis, God gives a new covenant. And he is going to, it's actually the covenant isn't given, the covenant is promised. And it is called the new covenant. It's in chapter 31. The actual words of it is chapter 31 through 34.
Jeremiah,
Jeremiah, sorry.
31 through 34.
Uh-huh. So I just remembered as 31. And he's going to give them a new covenant. So here's the old covenant. When they talk about the old covenant, they're not talking about the one to Noah. They're not talking about the one to Abraham. They're not talking about the one to David. They're talking about the Mosaic Law. That's the title. That when the Bible, when they talk about, oh, we got to do what the Old Covenant says, they're talking about the Mosaic Law. So on the Mosaic Law, it was remember it was conditional? There was God's part, and there was the people's part. And God's part was blessing, protection, provision, on and on and on. And theirs was, okay. That was it. And no other gods. Oh, there's this minor thing called don't have any other gods, And they just can't get that one through their head, So this is the conditional part. If these people, God never breaks this part. But if these people break this part, then the rest of this is discipline, and punishment, and judgment, right? That was supposed to be a judgment. That's why you get that weird looking thing there. And that was written into it. They knew that. And they agreed. Remember they did the blood and they sprinkled and all that. They said, yes, we will follow. That was the legal agreement to that. Okay, so here's the new covenant. The problem with the old covenant is that on their part, and it would be the same with us, if we didn't have some kind of help on the inside, we could not do this. If you did, and this is really hard for me to understand because I believed in Christ at age 7. So pretty much all my memory, I've known I've had the help of the Holy Spirit on the inside. All the way through. So I have very little memory of prior to that. And if it did, it was just silly kid stuff, I don't even remember. So it's hard for me to wrap my brain around what it would be like to obey this perfectly without any help from the inside. Got that? Okay, well, it can't be done.
Right.
It absolutely can't. And part of the whole purpose of it is to show us it can't be done. That's the whole point. It can't be done. So God's going to make a new covenant. And the new covenant is God's part and God's part. And we get to be in this one. So, and then he goes, verse 31, in chapter 31 of Jeremiah, behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. And by extension, this is going to be with us. Not like the covenant I made with their fathers on the day that I took them by the hand and brought them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant which they broke, although I was a husband to them. But this is the covenant which I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and on their heart I will write them. So now, just before I go on, the law is on the outside, right? And they're trying to get it into the inside. So they have to obey from the outside in. We get to do it from the inside out. It's way, way, way different. So that's what's coming up here. And he goes, but this is the covenant. I will put my law within them, and on their heart I will write it. And I will be their God, and they will be my people. This is Old Testament language for we are going to be functioning together. Kind of like the Garden of Eden.
But it's not a reference to the Holy Spirit yet.
It doesn't say that yet,
Right.
but that's how it's going to work out.
But not yet.
No, this at this point in the story in the part with Jeremiah, it's just a promise.
Although, I mean, it sounds like that. But it's not going to be until.
They might not know that because they are not functioning with New Testament information.
Right.
Right. And this is not happening at that time. This is a future promise. So the promise is going to be given right around here, but it's not going to happen until later. So the new covenant, it says at the beginning, the days are coming when I will make a new covenant with you. So this is just the promise of the new covenant.
Okay.
Okay? All right. All right. I will put my law and within them, and on their heart I will write it, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they will not teach each other, each man his neighbor, and his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me. They shall all know me from the least of them to the greatest of them, declares the Lord. And then here's the coolest part of all. How is he going to establish this with sinners like us? How can he possibly do that? Because even if he did it all for us, we still have this problem called the sin nature that cannot be Garden of Eden before the fall with God. All right? Says, for I will forgive their iniquity, and their sin I will remember no more. So this is the new covenant. Now, in your heads, if you're jumping forward, do you know when that was ratified? Did you know where it says that this covenant has been ratified? We just celebrated it 2 days ago. When Jesus says, he's got a cup, and he says, covenants are always ratified with what? Blood. This is the blood of the new covenant, which I will give for you. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a whole lot more on that, but I won't do that today. I will leave you with that, and if you can sort through Jeremiah, would you please give me your outline?
It's a really good read that works from Jeremiah.
I don't know, I have to go. Okay. Father in heaven, thank you that you know how to fix the broken heart. You know how to take hearts made of stone and make them made of flesh, and make them soft, and make them responsive. And I ask that you do that for me each time I get obnoxious and hard on the inside and don't respond to you. Would you please soften my heart? Do that for each of us. And thank you for this incredible story. Thank you that you've got the whole thing planned out in every tiny detail, including each of our lives. And just thank you so much for Jesus. In his name, amen.